The conference room of Tech Core Systems looked like a battlefield after a crushing defeat. Red lines and collapsing graphs filled the massive digital screen at the end of the table. Numbers blinked like emergency sirens, screaming disaster. The silence was heavy, broken only by the squeak of leather chairs when someone shifted nervously. At the head of the table sat Richard Miller, billionaire CEO of one of America's largest financial software companies. His forehead rested in his palms, his voice trembling as he muttered, 48 hours. If we don't fix this flaw in the banking platform, the $200 million contract with the Federal Reserve is gone. And if that happens, this company collapses. 15 of the best-paid engineers in the country were in the room, each earning more than $30,000 a month, yet not one had a solution. For 3 straight weeks, they had worked night and day, trying to fix a mysterious flaw. After exactly every 1,000 transactions, the system would crash. Billions of dollars were at risk, and nobody could figure out why. Just when despair had swallowed the room, a calm, unexpected voice broke through the tension. I know where the problem is. Every head turned toward the doorway. Standing there was David Johnson, 52 years old, wearing a navy blue janitor's uniform, still damp with sweat from mopping the hallways. In one hand, he held a squeegee, in the other, a worn leather notebook. His eyes looked tired, but strangely calm, as if he had survived storms worse than this one. The newly hired Chief Technology Officer, Dr. William Carter, laughed with open contempt. Really? Now we're taking coding advice from a janitor? But David didn't flinch. He walked to the whiteboard, picked up a marker, and began to sketch a diagram. Within seconds, 3 engineers leaned forward, frowning, suddenly interested. The flaw isn't in the new code, David said firmly. It's in the integration with your legacy system. You've been searching in the wrong place for 3 weeks. Richard lifted his head, his bloodshot eyes fixed on the janitor he had barely noticed in 5 years. Go on, he whispered. David pointed to a line of code on the projector. Here, the memory buffer isn't fully clearing. After every 1,000 operations, leftover data corrupts the next cycle. That's why the system always crashes at exactly the same point. The silence shifted from despair to stunned disbelief. Dr. Carter's face burned red. That's absurd. How could a janitor know something 15 expert engineers couldn't? David's calm gaze didn't waver. Because sometimes the people on the outside see what those on the inside cannot. The room froze. Engineers exchanged glances. Could this man be right? Carter sneered, circling David mockingly. MIT? Stanford? Or the University of YouTube? What's your degree, Mr. Janitor? But David's voice remained steady. I had 15 years of experience, before. That single word, before, hung in the air like a shadow. Richard leaned forward. Before what? David took a slow breath. Before I was framed for a fraud I didn't commit. Before I lost everything. My position, my home, my family. I was once a senior systems architect at Dataflow International, leading a team that built banking algorithms used across 12 countries. Then a business partner needed a scapegoat. They accused me of embezzlement. 3 years of court battles destroyed me. Even when I was cleared, no one in the industry would touch my name. So I picked up a mop to survive. The room was silent. The engineers who had mocked him looked away, ashamed. David tapped the whiteboard again, writing out a line of code. Buffer overflow, line 347, dynamic memory versus static cleanup. Fix that, and your crashes will vanish. Patricia Gomez, the most senior engineer, leaned forward, eyes wide. That That actually explains everything. Richard slammed the table. Test his solution, now! An hour later, the results filled the screen. 0 crashes in 5,000 test transactions. Gasps filled the room. Patricia whispered, "My God, he was right." Richard turned to David. "How did you see this when none of us could?" David opened his notebook, its pages yellowed, covered with diagrams and calculations. "Because I never stopped studying. 5 years of scrubbing floors gave me time to observe, to think, to refine ideas. While you saw a janitor, I was solving your puzzles." Carter exploded. "He's lying! He must have stolen this!" David calmly turned a page, revealing designs for an entirely new banking security system. Cheaper, faster, and virtually unbreakable. Patricia scanned the drawings, her eyes widening. "This is brilliant." Richard stood, his decision clear. "David, starting tomorrow, you're on my development team. Carter, you'll handle maintenance projects. Consider this a realignment of priorities." Carter's face drained of color. Maintenance was a demotion. The janitor he mocked was now leading the project he had failed to solve. 3 days later, TechCore's headquarters buzzed with press, investors, and board members. Richard was about to unveil the company's new banking system, designed by the man everyone thought was just the janitor. David entered not in a uniform, but in a tailored suit, carrying his leather notebook like a badge of honor. He presented his system with stunning clarity. 200% faster, 60% cheaper, unbreakable security. Investors leaned forward, eyes wide. Then David clicked to the next slide. "Before we continue, let's address competence." The screen flashed to the failed data secure project of 2018, a disaster that had cost clients $50 million. David's eyes locked on Carter. "Do you remember this?" Carter froze. That's irrelevant." "It's entirely relevant," David said, revealing buried reports and Carter's emails, promising features he knew were impossible, covering flaws for bonus money. Gasps filled the room. Journalists scribbled furiously. Richard's face hardened. "Carter, you're finished here. Security, escort him out." Cameras clicked as Carter was dragged out, his reputation in ruins. David remained calm, closing his notebook. "Gentlemen, the future of secure banking begins here." 6 months later, Fortune magazine featured David on its cover. From janitor to genius, the man who reinvented banking security. TechCore became the industry leader. David, now chief technical director, signed billion-dollar contracts with European and Asian banks. From his new office overlooking New York City, David often thought about Carter. Jobless, disgraced, Carter had fallen to rock bottom. But David surprised everyone. One afternoon, he told Patricia, offer him a position, entry level, minimum wage. If he works hard, maybe he can rebuild himself. Patricia blinked. After everything he did? David nodded. Everyone deserves a chance to start over. I got mine when no one believed in me. Now it's his turn. A week later, Carter, wearing a cheap suit and carrying a plastic briefcase, walked into TechCore as a humble assistant. His eyes met David's across the lobby. David extended his hand. "Welcome to the team, William. I hope this will be a valuable learning experience." Carter's voice cracked. "Thank you. I won't waste it." Months later, during an interview, a journalist asked David, "What's your philosophy of leadership?" David smiled thoughtfully. "True revenge isn't destroying those who wronged you. It's building something so extraordinary that your success becomes their mirror. It's proving that talent, character, and determination matter more than background or title. Prejudice tried to make me invisible, but invisible people see and hear everything. That's why humility is the foundation of greatness. Back at the office, Carter overheard these words. His eyes watered. For the first time, he realized that the man he had ridiculed had chosen forgiveness over destruction. David returned to his desk, gazing at the skyline. From janitor to visionary, his journey wasn't just about technology. It was about proving that real strength isn't in revenge. It's in resilience, humility, and lifting others when you've already risen. And so the story ends with a question for you. Have you ever been judged unfairly because of your job, your appearance, or your background? Remember, those who underestimate you can't define you. Only your results can. Determination and integrity will always take you further than arrogance ever could.